we talk about customers and the demands that they're placing on businesses. We talk supply chain is a great topic in here. A little bit more of a stakeholder group that's really important here is employees. And I think we can all agree that the key to driving action and impactful change, even at the most granular of levels, is to clearly identify and communicate a common goal, finding ways to get all employees engaged. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how employees can help businesses meet their sustainability commitments and, quite frankly, exceed their sustainability commitments. Perhaps in the context of maybe some best practices that you've seen at Oracle, Accenture, and VMware.
Well, I think I'll just lead off with that. I think employees are an incredibly powerful stakeholder, and certainly in our industry in this day and age, right? We are competing really hard for talent. So my recommendation, my number one recommendation is, let people know you care. If our employees, if a significant portion of our employees demonstrate that this is important to them, it's going to be a priority for the executive management team. And that's what's played out. I mean, it's our employees and they're doing it in different ways. They're doing it in how they do their job. They're doing it in volunteering projects. They're doing it with local sort of what they call green teams, where in your local office, you're trying to raise awareness and be active around composting or recycling or whatever it is that you want to do. So it's not just talk, they're really acting on that. And then I think, the second part becomes, okay, how in your job function, how can you do things differently? Whether that's, eliminating paper from your processes or, running the data center more efficiently. Everyone can contribute in a way. This is not just a real estate and facilities problem. This is not just a supply chain problem. Everyone can really contribute. Our events team, when we had events, they suddenly came up with ideas of reusing all the materials that we were using in these large events that we were having, working with our travel partners. There's so many different ways you can really make a difference. And then in particular for us as basically a software company, developing solutions. I say to employees all the time, you are transforming the way people live and the way industries are delivering their products and services by building capabilities. And this is, we don't necessarily know what's best for the customer. Right? We have to do that in collaboration with the customer. But by delivering the capabilities that helps our customers, as I think Nicola said earlier, that is, where we can have the greatest impact. So I think, and it's one of those things that as an employee, it's obvious, right? But I think, they lose sight of the fact that they're really delivering transformation to a whole set of people and industries, which is really exciting. And it should make you feel really good about the work that you're doing.
Yeah, and to add to what Rich is saying about employees increasingly are really wanting to work for companies that have a bigger purpose beyond making a profit. And I think they get very excited when they understand that they actually have a role to play in their job. So, if you think about VMware, we have lots of software engineers. And when we start to talk to them about how through our products, we can help our customers reduce the environmental impact of their data center operations, they get very excited. And it's more a matter of education, because most people don't, they think about, oh yeah, I can reduce my paper use, or I can do recycling, right? They don't actually know that there's an opportunity in their job. So it's across the board. Even in finance now, we started doing a green bond. And I think that, that's something that the finance team is working on. There's virtual power purchase agreements for the procurement of renewable energy. That's also the finance, and that's the facilities teams. So I think there's a role for everybody to play, and it's our jobs to help educate and evangelize what each employee, what role that they can play in achieving the company's goals, or thinking about how can we innovate through our products and solutions to drive more sustainability in our customer environment. So I think it's a very exciting time, and it is an amazing way to engage employees.
It's interesting, right? Because when we think about stakeholder centricity and employees, as we said, are a key stakeholder, there is a gap, right? Leadership thinks we're good, we're headed there, we got a plan, right? And back to metrics, ticking it off. But when you talk to employees, they tend to disagree. right? Because at the end of the day, there's this natural tension, right, on profitability and how do you continue to grow, to your point, Rich, right? Growth doesn't necessarily require sacrificing sustainability. It just requires rethinking of how do we continue to do things in a sustainable fashion, and really making sure that an organization has sustainability DNA is what we tend to talk about, right? Because employees need to hold leadership accountable, right? And leadership needs to be accountable back to the employees, and having that connection. And really, to your point around evangelizing, every human has the potential and opportunity to affect, the business. This past year, with everything that was happening, we actually had one of our employees who was really passionate about IND and built a solution. It's called Where, and it was really focused on measuring our IND objectives. And it started out as an idea about, how do we do that within our business, just our business, right? And they pulled the team together, they built it out, and next thing we knew, right, it was adopted by the firm. And now it's something that we actually talk to our clients about, and that they are also adopting. So really, there was this immense sense of accountability that she felt on holding us accountable to what our goals were. So, at the end of the day, you're right. Talent is king, and employees want to work for businesses that are really thinking sustainably. And it's a circle, right? It's really about holding each other accountable. And I've seen a lot of improvement that way, but we've got to continue to close that gap, because it's very easy to allow it to stay open.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that Nicola mentioned evangelizing and education, because it's something that's it's a never-ending job, and it's a big part of what we do. You sort of think to yourself, well, we've told the story, or put yourself in the executive shoes. We have a policy, we did that, we're done here. No, like, that voice needs to be there on an ongoing basis, and it's something that we're constantly working on. And also with customers, I feel like a lot of the time we try to share the art of the possible and make people realize that. And this is not some imaginary or future-looking capability we're talking about. It's like, hey, your peers are doing this in the utility space. They're doing amazing things around demand management, all kinds of different walks of life. And with new technologies like AI and IoT and blockchain, there's just tremendous capabilities that. And startups, in our startups program, organically, a lot of those organizations are more purpose-driven, and they're leveraging the latest technologies. They don't have a lot of baggage, and they're just doing things that are really exciting and kind of showing the way to a lot of these bigger organizations sometimes. So, sharing those kinds of customer successes, really celebrating them through awards and stories and videos is also really powerful.
I love what you just said there, Rich, about purpose-driven. I think that's just an incredibly important point for leadership in this space, because, we have to get people to rise to the point we talked about earlier around ROI, or some of these, how do we think about this? Kind of have to rise above that and really think about what is the purpose of the organization in a broad way, and how does sustainability and net zero goals fit in the context of that. This has been an amazing conversation. Really enjoyed the three of you participating in this with me today. And thanks for joining. And what a great set of stories and examples and perspectives from VMware, Accenture, and Oracle. So thank you very, very, very much. And thanks to everyone for their time today. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to check out other released and future episodes at oracle.com/trending topics. Also, subscribe to the Partner Perspectives podcast at oracle.com/podcasts. This series features trending topic episodes and other great partner discussions on their customer stories and related best practices. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and thank you very much.